Today we are going to test and install the Sizzapp, which sounds like something Snoop Dogg would say. The Sizzapp is a tracking device for your motorcycle that can tell you its location, track routes, detect movement, provide 24/7 protection, and more. There's a bunch of stuff on the back of this box. I've used and even done a video on a similar device called the Moto 7. If you want to check out that video, I'll link it up here. Which one's better? I don't know. We're going to find out today, but I can tell you one thing that separates the Moto 7 and even the new Moto 9 from the Sizzapp, and that's this does not require any sort of contract or monthly or annual fees. Now we're going to head out to the garage, get it installed, and start doing some testing. All right, so let's take a look at what's inside the box here. We have some device activation and installation instructions, a couple of stickers, and the device itself, which, if I'm not mistaken, is a little bit bigger than the one I talked about earlier, the Moto 7. That being said, this one does not run off of its own battery. We're going to have to actually hook it up with some leads to our motorcycle battery. So let's hop over to our bike and get this thing put on. So we're going to hook this up on my 2019 Grom. Looking at these wire connectors we have on here, these are not going to work on this small of screw and setup and on the battery post here. So I'm going to cut these off. We're going to put some on that are going to work, and then we're actually going to get it installed. Okay, so with some smaller connectors installed, same style as what was on there, just a little smaller. We're going to take our black, hook it up to our ground. We're going to do the same thing, red to red over here. Alright, so if we take a look down in here, you see we got our wires connected. We also have our box like sticky taped over to the side. Everything should be out of the way. And we're going to get this thing hooked up to our phone here next. Okay, so with your device installed, you're going to come back over to your packaging. I'm going to blur mine out if you guys can see it. And you're going to need this IMEI number. It's going to be 15 digits. Then you're going to download the Sizzapp, which I have done. And you're going to type your code in here, and then you're going to name your vehicle. You can even put the plate and everything else in here. Once that's done, we're going to hit add. It says it's entered incorrectly, so it's probably my fault. All right, it is a hot one out, so I'm sending out my newest test rider because he's actually legal. And we are just going to test out this app and see how it does. It was working earlier, now it seems to be maybe not so much. Find tracking. Let's try tracking. We did test it earlier when we moved the bike, and within like, I don't know, 5-10 seconds I got the push notification on my phone, so that's cool. Let's go back to home.
As Noah continued to ride, I was able to view his current and top speed. I was able to follow along on his route and even see what the final route looked like once he got back. All right, so now that we finished the installation and testing, it's time to hop in the review portion of the video. So we're going to start out with the pros, and pro number one is it works. It does what it says it does. It does as advertised, so that's a good thing. Pro number two, there's just a one-time fee. Once you buy it, there's no additional cost added to this. There's no monthly fee, there's no annual fee. It comes with a SIM card, it comes with a data plan, and it runs off of 4G, and then as a backup, it runs off of 2G. Next pro is it is IP67 rated, which means it is both dust proof and waterproof. So if you want to use this thing for off-road purposes, you want to use this thing, you know, in less than optimal weather, you shouldn't have to worry about there being any sort of issue with it because it is sealed tight. All right, so let's get into the app. That is another pro. So this is actually a very well-developed app. In addition to the security it provides with alerts of theft, accidents, and device disconnection, it can also track routes, distance, speed, location, and even set geofences. There's also a social aspect to the app. If you want to follow along with friend ride, group rides, that sort of thing, it's probably not something I'm going to use, but it is a cool feature if that's something you're interested in. The other thing I noticed about the app, which is a good thing, is there seems to be ongoing development with the app, and there is a lot of good customization you can do inside the app to make it work best for you. And then the last couple of pros, this is something that's really good. The app is available with iOS and Android, though most things are available on both at this point. And also the device is small enough that you should be able to fit it on just about any bike out there. I mean, hell, I fit the damn thing on a Grom, so you shouldn't have much problem. All right, so before we hop into the cons, just something I want to touch on. That may be a pro, it may be a con, depending on how you look at it. This device does not need any battery on its own. It runs off of the motorcycle battery. Now I'm saying that could be a pro or a con because of this. The other device I mentioned earlier, the Moto, it runs off its own internal battery. When it starts to lose strength, it'll let you know and you're gonna replace the battery. In my experience, they last probably between 12, 15 months, something like that, depending on your use, before you needed to replace it. In this case, it is on your motorcycle battery. There is going to be a slight drain on it. Once there's an hour of inactivity, it goes into, I think they call it deep sleep mode. It's not much of a draw. That being said, it is going to draw. Now, if you have your bike on a battery tender, not that big a deal. I'm sure it'll be fine. However, it will warn you if the voltage on your battery starts to get low. So you'll get that warning on your phone through the app, so you will know. Again, it might be a good thing, it might be a bad thing. I will say this, if you are running like an old air-cooled motorcycle that doesn't have a battery, there's really no way to use this because it's gonna need a power source. That's where you might wanna look at the Moto versus this. Again, could be a pro, could be a con. It also could be something that you can't use on your bike, like I mentioned, if it doesn't have its own battery. All right, so after reviewing this product, I really only came up with two cons. And number one is the price. This thing up front is $360. You could get a 2-pack for about $100 savings. I think as of right now, it's $621. Why would you want two? Well, maybe you have more than one motorcycle, or maybe you and a buddy want to go in and get that $50 per unit savings. If you want to look at something comparable, the Moto, I think the Moto 7 is around 130 bucks right now. The Moto 9 is around 170 bucks right now. But you only get 2 months of service with that, and then you're going to have to do, I believe it's around $50 annually. So after a few years, this thing will start to pay for itself, where you have the ongoing. It's really up to you, but it is a decent upfront cost that may knock some people out of the market. The second con is you can't easily flip it between bikes. Moto, you can throw it in a lockable saddlebag or top case or underneath the seat, whatever. It doesn't really matter, just as long as it's somewhere on the bike. This one, you're gonna have to hook up to the battery. So, some bikes, battery's a little easier to access, some's a little more difficult. The other thing is you're probably gonna have to store this thing somewhat near the battery because you're gonna have to hook it up to the battery, or if you store it further away under the seat or hide it somewhere, you're gonna have to run those cables up. And again, it's not something that, in 2 minutes or 30 seconds or whatever, you're gonna flip-flop in and out. It may, be quite the ordeal to flip between bikes, and in some cases, it's at least gonna take you a few minutes if you wanna flip-flop them back and forth. So anyway, that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, considering that subscribe button because if you like motorcycles, well, this is the place to be. I'm going to link actually all the products I mentioned down below, but specifically the Sizzapp, which honestly, that should have been another pro because it's just a fun name to say. I'm going to link that down there. I have no affiliation with those guys. Go check it out for yourself. It's something you might be interested in. If you have any additional questions, let me know down in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer them. And as always, I'll talk to you again soon.